morning. Happy Monday. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. It was a beautiful, beautiful weekend.
It really was, wasn't it?
It was gorgeous. We started out the week with a weekend, rather, going to the Festival of Lights.
Yes.
And our intent was to go to Christmas Tree Lane afterwards, and we love Christmas Tree Lane. It's such a wonderful event.
Yeah,
and I heard it was terrific.
We totally
did. And I have sciatica, and walking around, I wasn't able to go.
You were in a lot of pain.
I was in a lot of pain. And if any of you all have ever had it, it is really painful. And I don't take anything for it. Like I don't, I got home and it was hurting really bad, so I took a leave. But I usually don't take anything for it because I don't want to take anything for it. Anyway, it's just, it's very painful.
Yes. But the whole weekend was just a busy weekend. And I had mentioned before we left on Friday that my fraternity was having our Founders Day event. And thank you. Looks like I'm about to be...
Rick Rule from KQLH has joined our studio, putting a Santa cap on Tobin. Thank you, Rick.
Now I'm ready. Okay. The holidays have begun.
That's awesome.
Had our Founders Day, and that was just a magnificent event. Probably about 40 fraternity brothers got together. We do that once a year, and it's just a lot of fun. And then in the evening on Saturday, oh my God, what an amazing evening. We went to the symphony.
We did.
And the symphony is spectacular, and they've been doing these guest conductors because they're doing a search for a permanent conductor. The conductor was fabulous. They debuted a brand new piece that's never been heard or performed live before that was really great.
And the conductor, his name was Dean Anderson. I guess he's a professor at La Sierra University, but works with kids from Loma Linda Academy and does a whole bunch of other things.
And just great energy, and I just loved the arrangements and just felt like it all worked very well together. And then the really special part, right, was that they had David Archuleta, who was formerly of...
American Idol. He was on Star Search, too.
Yeah, just a fantastic... I had no idea just how talented this kid was, right? I mean, I knew he was a good singer, but I so enjoyed his performance. And where we were sitting, we had this young couple in front of us that were there just to see David Archuleta. You could tell they'd never been in the symphony before. I think they were from Victorville?
Victorville, yeah, and they looked like they were under 25.
Yes, and every time he would get ready to sing or start, they would squeal in delight and just sheer joy at hearing his performance. And I loved it. There were moments, where I was just really deeply moved by the music. And they enjoyed
the orchestra as well. I mean, it wasn't just about David Archuleta, who was fabulous.
Yes.
He has a magnificent voice. It wasn't just about him.
No.
It was also about this world-class orchestra that we have here in San Bernardino.
Yes. But I was so moved. And in fact, yesterday, throughout the day, I kept playing David Archuleta songs on YouTube for the whole family to hear, and particularly the ones that he did with another symphony when he performed with the
Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Yeah, and that was spectacular.
Of course, he is LDS.
Yes,
he's from Utah. He's a Mormon.
Yeah,
and his music is very his faith is alive and present in his music.
Yes,
which especially for this time of year is really wonderful.
Yeah, so that was spectacular, and just been a great weekend. And then yesterday morning I was up bright and early. Oh my gosh, bright and early. Was out there. The Loma Lindas had their holiday classic 5K and half marathon, and Rotary does a joint project with them where they provide the pancake breakfast. And so we had a whole bunch of Rotary volunteers out there doing pancakes for the runners. And
I should have gotten up, but we'd had a really late night.
Yeah.
And every night last week was a late night.
Yeah.
And I just was so tired.
I was really dragging yesterday because of it, but I'm so glad I went. One of the founding fathers of my fraternity, one of my dear friends, was running his final 5K of the year, and he had set a goal to do 12, one a month this year, and he actually got 13. He had a friend con him into doing 2 1 month, and so it was great to be there with him as he did his last 5K, and it just was a great weekend, just a really wonderful weekend.
So yeah, and it was our daughter, of course. The reason why we wanted to go to the Festival of Lights on Friday is our daughter had her first open house in her new apartment. You know, she got married in June, and I say new apartment, she moved in 6 months ago, but she's never had an open house, and so the evening kicked off with her open house, and we couldn't miss that. That was important.
No.
And then we went to the Festival of Lights because she lives in downtown Riverside, and yeah. So that was, it was, if you've never seen the Festival of Lights, it's really worth it. Yeah, you're going to have to park far away and walk, so wear comfortable shoes. It's really fun.
Yes, it is.
It's nice, beautiful lights. So, you know, on to local, well, not local news, on to news that doesn't have to do with us. There continue to be aftershocks in Anchorage. And I think that's probably the scariest thing for people. So beyond, and if you've seen videos of this, you'll know, beyond the big earthquake, the 7.0 earthquake, you know, that seemed to go on forever. We watched a video, a camera inside an office that were, maybe a courthouse or whatever it was. And, you know, people were under those desks for a long time. That shaking went on and on. And that's terrifying. But then after that, they've had, I guess, thousands of aftershocks of widely varying sizes.
Yeah, you know, the aftershocks, I think you get traumatized by the first big quake, and then every one of those aftershocks is going to have your nerves on edge, especially if you've been in a place where you've seen the catastrophic damage, where, you know, your car barely pulled off the road and the road buckled underneath you, or, you know, a building fell down on, you know, and you got out of the rubble or whatever. If you've been through the most traumatic parts, every aftershock after that, you've got to feel like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. You know? You know,
but it's what's striking to me for this earthquake, 7.0 is huge.
Yeah.
That is a huge quake. And there was damage, don't get me wrong, and, you know, to the infrastructure, you know, roads and bridges and things and all the things that have to be repaired, there was significant damage, but nobody died.
Yeah.
And, you know, you think of 7.0, you think, wow, there's going to be loss of life, right?
Yeah.
And there wasn't, which is a testament to our modern architecture and our modern building codes. But it's also, apparently this, it didn't even cause the kind of damage that you would have seen in smaller quakes, that you've seen in smaller quakes around the world and even in California. Friday's Alaska quake was actually larger in magnitude than the 1989 Loma Prieta quake and 1994 Northridge quake, each of which killed more than 50 people and caused billions of dollars in damage. And so the LA Times actually asked this question, and experts emphasized, I can't talk this morning, they are still studying the Anchorage trembler, but said several factors made it less destructive than other major quakes. For one thing, the quake was not centered directly under Anchorage. The epicenter was 8.5 miles away, but that's just 8 miles.
Yeah.
That's still fairly close, but doesn't have the same effect as if it were directly under the city. The quake was fairly deep, 25 miles under the surface, which also resulted in less shaking on the surface. It also has to do with the kind of soil that they have up there. The magnitude 6.7 Northridge quake hit directly underneath the suburban San Fernando Valley and was much shallower, just 25 miles underground, than the Anchorage quake. So more of the shaking made it to the surface, causing more damage. And much of the structural damage seen in Anchorage was a result of liquefaction, which is when sediments and water are shaken together and act like quicksand. And we know about that here in San Bernardino, because we have, you know, San Bernardino used to have a huge lake bed, used to be a lake, right? And so there's that liquefaction's an issue here where there to be a big earthquake. The great 1964 earthquake, which was a magnitude 9.2 monster that battered the whole West Coast with shaking and tsunamis, significantly damaged many buildings. So there were few of Anchorage's oldest structures left. So most of the stuff was up to code. They were newer structures. In California, for example, a Los Angeles Times analysis published this year found that there are hundreds of old brick buildings in the Inland Empire which have been marked as dangerous, but haven't been retrofitted despite decades of warnings.
Which is why the San Bernardino City Hall sits vacant right now, because it's been one of those cities that was identified as having some structural issues in the case of a big earthquake, and the city, having gone bankrupt, and even before that, just has never had the money. It's a very expensive fix. And so
Well,
the building
and,
sits empty.
Is it more expensive to fix it, or is it more expensive to build a new city hall?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing they're wrestling with right now is what's the right way to proceed.
So across California, there are other vulnerable building types, such as apartments with parking on the ground floor, older houses with a handful of steps off the ground, and vulnerable concrete and steel buildings. Unlike Anchorage, many California cities have not been shaken by what scientists consider a major earthquake in the modern era. San Francisco's last extremely large quake was in 1906, with an estimated magnitude of 7.9. Southern California's last great one was in 1857, also an estimated magnitude of 7.9, which moved the San Andreas Fault an astonishing 185 miles between Monterey County and the San Gabriel Mountains near Los Angeles.
Dang, that's a massive amount of movement. That doesn't sound right to me, but okay.
This is according to the LA Times.
Yeah,
That just sounds terrifying.
Right?
The 1964 Alaska Templar, the second largest earthquake in the modern record, produced 1,995 times more energy than Friday's quake. It lasted 4.5 minutes. Imagine that.
Wow.
4.5 minutes. And along with tsunamis, killed more than 120 people. It was felt all the way to Seattle, where witnesses says they felt the landmark Space Needle swaying.
Now, that would be scary. If you're up in one of those really big buildings and it starts shaking, right?
Yeah. A later U.S. Geological Survey found an area of 185,000 square miles was disrupted. There were areas that dropped as much as 8 feet and others that rose 38 feet. So barnacles attached to rocks that used to be 2 feet underwater were suddenly in the open air. A section of downtown Anchorage sank. Underwater landslides in Alaska's fjords caused tsunamis within minutes of the shaking. 3 huge waves washed onto Whittier from Prince William Sound within 3 minutes. Chenega, to the south, lost 23 people, 1/3 of its population. To the north, in Valdez, 30 died as the harbors and docks collapsed. 11 people were killed by a tsunami that hit Crescent City, California.
And all of that damage is from a quake that was back in 1964.
Right,
So
1964.
if you just tuned in and you heard that, don't freak out that there's been some major disaster that you just missed. This is an old one.
This is an old one, but massive.
But massive, and showing what happens. Just a few magnitudes, a few points higher on the Richter scale, and you get all this larger magnitude and so much more damage.
It's interesting the differences, because in California we have the San Andreas. I mean, there's lots of different faults, but the San Andreas is a slip fault where there's 2 plates that are, one's moving south and one's moving north, or one's staying put and the other one's moving north, something like that. Whereas in Alaska there's a subduction fault where you have one fault that's actually moving under another fault.
Yes.
And that's the kind that they have in India that created the Himalayas, Nepal that created the Himalayas, where the Indian plate is going underneath. And I don't know if I have the names right, but the plate that the Indian subcontinent is on is different from the Asian continent, and one's going under the other. And that's the kind that they have in Alaska and along the Pacific Northwest.
We've seen a lot of action along these fault lines, along what they call the Ring of Fire, which is basically all around the Pacific Ocean on the American side as well as on the Asian side, with large earthquakes and lots of seismic activity. So this is kind of to be expected.
There were people that were, and Tobin just sneezed, and there were people who were saying that, yes, you've got to stop drilling for oil. That's what caused the earthquake. No, sweetie, no, that's not what caused the earthquake. What caused the earthquake was the subduction fault that sits under Anchorage.
You mean the Earth caused the earthquake?
The Earth caused the earthquake. Science. So with that, let's take a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
If you're still paying for electricity every month, it means you haven't signed up for the Inland Empire's #1 money savings program offered by Horizon Solar Power. Just call to qualify your home, and Horizon will give you $100 plus pay your electric bill until 2020. It's that simple. Call, qualify, get $100 and no electric bill payments until 2020. So keep your money in your pocket and become energy independent today. Call 844-711-6996. That's 844-711-6996. Or click on one of our Stay Cool ads at KCAAradio.com. The Tri-City Shopping Center in Redlands is serving up some really cool ice cream at La Micho Acana. Then get your chocolates and other delights from C's Candies. Moms and future moms who visit the mall can cool off and relax while they get treated like royalty at Shiny Nails or Francis Nails and then pampered at Texture Hair. The Tri-City Center is filled with retailers who care about you. Shop at the Tri-City Center in Redlands and see why they call it the Mall with a Heart.
How would you feel if you had to make a choice between buying food or spending your fixed income on life-saving medicine? No one should make that trade-off, but many low-income seniors are forced into difficult decisions like this every day. Smiles for Seniors Foundation provides energy assistance and safety net services to struggling low-income seniors in the Inland Empire. They provide one-time assistance to seniors to meet specific financial needs. They've helped with food, housing, utility payments, minor home and auto repairs, along with life-saving prescriptions or medical equipment. A nonprofit foundation funded entirely by donations from local organizations. Smiles for Seniors receives no funding from the state or federal government. They are funded by local businesses and individuals like you with big hearts and willing wallets. You can find more information or to donate to Smile for Seniors at 909-790-6671. That's 909-790-6671 or visit smilesforseniorsfoundation.org. That's smilesforseniorsfoundation.org.
It's time to say see you later, alligator, to embarrassing and troublesome issues with your skin, nails, and hair with all-natural Cayman alligator oil. Cayman oil is locally made, right in Louisiana, where people have been using alligator oil for centuries to treat all kinds of ailments. A drop a day of Cayman oil can help you say see you later, alligator, to athlete's foot, nail fungus, acne, eczema, rashes, dry skin, cuts, infections, MRSA, scars, burns, sunburns, and even ingrown hair and dandruff. If you or someone you know is tired of suffering with any of these skin, nail, and hair troubles, you need to visit mycayman.com to learn more about 100% natural, non-toxic, hypoallergenic Cayman oil and get a bottle today. Say see you later, alligator, with Cayman alligator oil at mycayman.com. That's myCAIMON.com. mycayman.com.
Broadcasting more local radio programs than any other station in California. We are KCAA.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. The one thing that we should have ended that last segment saying is, if you haven't gotten an earthquake kit put together, like we talked about last week, it's probably not a bad idea to work on that now. And, make sure that you have the tools to shut the gas off in your house, to shut the water off in your house, that you have a plan, for your family, if you're separated or, whatever. Maybe grab some walkie-talkies, because I guarantee your cell phone's not going to work. So we don't have walkie-talkies, do we?
No.
We need to get walkie-talkies.
Ooh, I like walkie-talkies. But I'll be using them every day.
No, that would be so annoying.
You'll be in the bedroom, and I'll be in the other room, and I'll be like, Roger, over and out. Pushing the button. I like that little sound when you push the button.
My husband's a child.
I am. I remember having those as a kid, man. They were great. Of course, they never had enough distance, right? So I really always wanted the high-powered one, so you could be like a mile away from somebody and still talk to them.
Now you can be thousands of miles away and still talk to them now on this little computer you hold in your hand.
My smartphone?
Yes.
But it doesn't make the little sounds when you push the button.
No, the technology has moved beyond that sound. It's like, your computer, your internet at home doesn't go anymore.
Right. And you don't have to keep putting AA batteries in your cell phone like you did with your walkie-talkie.
God, that's
every half hour, I was like, Mom, I need more batteries.
All right, Tobin, pick an article.
Okay, so the I don't know if you've seen the story about Dick's Sporting Goods, but they made this decision to get rid of selling certain types of assault rifles and whatnot,
Or certain types of rifles.
Yes,
that they say the assault style.
Yes, and apparently, Aaron, and who knew this, but apparently there are actual consequences to making decisions based on politics instead of business. And people have decided that they don't want to shop at Dick's Sporting Goods for a wide variety of stuff, not just for the those particular assault rifles that they have said they're not going to sell anymore, but other guns and ammo and other aspects of what they sell. And so their company's bottom line is not doing as well. And so when they had to make their annual report this year, they're looking at some bleak numbers.
They are. It reminds me of, I took a shopping trip a couple 4 years ago maybe, and I was looking for an evening gown to go to a gala, and I went to Macy's, and the Macy's I was looking for their plus size gowns, and because I'm a big girl, and I couldn't find any. I asked somebody, and they go, "Oh, those are upstairs," and I went up there, and it was like, talk about, we want to pretend these people don't shop here. Mm-hmm. It was the selection was terrible. It was in a corner. It just wasn't. It was like, oh, okay, well, thank you. Not only am I not going to try anything on, but I'm never going to buy another thing here again.
Yeah.
Because if you think that little of me, you don't deserve my money.
Yes.
And so we only have about 60 seconds left before we have to go to break.
So Dick's Sporting Goods saw a 4.5% decline in their stocks after they made their decision, and their company is growing particularly slowly now. And so they're actually talking about getting rid of whole departments within the Dick's Sporting Goods because of their unprofitability. And most people are tying it directly back to this decision. And I just think it's fascinating. I really don't like when businesses or performers get involved in politics. Just do what you do. Sell your stuff, right? Or sing your songs, or play your game, whatever it's football, baseball, whatever, and leave politics to other folks. Because as soon as you get involved, you're going to tick some people off. This is the rule of politics. Every time you make a decision, you're making one group of friends and one group of enemies. And in business, your job is to have everyone as your friend.
Right. Well, I mean, but so to put it in context, they made this decision because of all of the mass shootings, and they were feeling the heat from a very vocal group of people saying, you sell guns, you're part of the problem. And so their board made the decision that they didn't want to sell guns anymore, but they forgot that that the people who like to shop there are hunters and sportsmen, that like to skeet shoot, they like to, have a firearm. And so they alienated in an effort to make a political statement, which, I understand why they wanted to make that political statement, but they, in that effort, they alienated their base.
Yeah.
And I understand why that they had the reaction to want to make that statement, but I have to say I disagree with that statement. So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. Flags across the country are flying at half-staff this morning in honor of former President George H.W. Bush. The U.S. Capitol Rotunda will be open to the public beginning this evening as the 41st president lies in state. A memorial service at the National Cathedral is scheduled for Wednesday morning, followed by a funeral Thursday in Bush's hometown of Houston.
The man who spoke so eloquently of 1,000 points of light, now being remembered as a shining example for all Americans. A president, a patriot, and a humble servant of our nation.
NBC's Craig Melvin. Bush died Friday at the age of 94. Meanwhile, it's likely that memorial services for the former president will push back the funding deadline. It threatens to partially shut down the federal government. Friday's deadline comes at the end of the week when government officials will attend services for the 41st president in Washington and Texas. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
It's It's time for traffic on KCAA and KQLH. In Moreno Valley on the 60, that would be westbound after Day Street, an injury crash has been moved over to the right shoulder. Stop-and-go traffic is backed up from Paris Boulevard. The 215 north is slow from Cactus up to University. In Fontana on the 10 westbound after Cherry Avenue, a crash has been moved to the center divider. Slow traffic is backed up from Riverside Avenue. In Ontario, on the 15 northbound before the 60, a wreck has been moved to the right shoulder. Slow traffic is backed up from Indian Truck Trail. In the Cajon Pass, on the 15 northbound before Cleghorn Road, a wreck has been moved to the right shoulder. The 15 south is slow from Joshua Street down towards Cleghorn. This has been your traffic report on KCAA. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. And KQLH 92.5, the music for America's Main Street. I'm Erin Brinker.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Alvin Washington. Sunny this morning, high 65. Partly cloudy this evening, low 47. Sunny Tuesday, high 69. Showers possible Tuesday night, low 48. Showers on Wednesday. I'm Alvin Washington, broadcasting live from the Tri-City Center at the 10 and 210 freeways. We are the trifecta of talk in Southern California, KCAA. 102.3 FM, Riverside. 106.5 FM, Redlands, and the Legacy 1050 AM, Loma Linda, San Bernardino.
Drivers, when it's time to visit the DMV, avoid the long lines and save time by calling toll-free 833-DMV-LINE. That's 833-DMV-5463.
Are you or a loved one suffering from addiction? You're not alone. There is help, and people are getting help every day. Call Sheer Recovery now at 888-254-6801. That's 888-254-6801. Or go to sheerrecovery.com, spelled S-H-E-E-R, recovery.com. If you have insurance through work or family, your treatment may be covered at little or no cost to you. Plus, you can't lose your job if you decide to seek help. Sheer Recovery offers all levels of treatment. We understand what you're going through and know how to help. Make the best decision of your life and call Sheer Recovery now, spelled S-H-E-E-R. The number is 888-254-6801. That's 888-254-6801. The start of a better life begins here.
We can't be everything to everyone, or can we? The station that leaves no listener behind, KCAA.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. I'm in an English beat kind of mood this morning.
You really are, aren't you?
I am. So, nobody said that criminals were intelligent people.
No.
Most of them are not. You know, we we like the movies where you have these genius heists that are pulled off, but most criminals are just, morons. Apparently, a wallet was too tempting for a thief.
Really?
Inside a Yucaipa sheriff's station.
Wait. He tried to steal a wallet while inside the sheriff's station?
Yes, he did.
Oh, my God.
So he may have figured no one was looking. Dwayne Melvin Johnson was in the lobby of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Station in Yucaipa to register as a sex offender on Friday, November 30th, when a 27-year-old woman inadvertently left her wallet on the counter before stepping outside. While the office staff was away, Johnson took the wallet and concealed it in his jacket. Authorities then said in a news release, Johnson, who's from Yucaipa, has convictions for burglary and petty theft, according to Superior Court records. When the victim returned and noticed her wallet was missing, she alerted the staff. You think? Deputies checked Johnson and found the wallet. Turns out not someone, but something was looking. Surveillance cameras taped the theft. Of course they did. Johnson, also known as Charles Eugene Davenport, was cited on suspicion of petty theft and was released.
Wow.
Wow. Slow clap for you, dude.
Right. And then the last little bit there, too, where you reveal that he had a completely whole separate new name, different name.
Yes.
You know, this is, I mean, all of these things to me are indicators of criminality. Normal people don't have, like, you know, aliases. Really.
No, they
just
don't.
They just have the one name.
They just have the name that their mama gave them.
And they're proud of that name. But they don't need to be racking up like 3 or 4 different names because there's no reason to hide who you are.
Exactly. Do you think Absidy will be proud of her name when she grows up?
I don't know. You know, the more I thought about that story, the spelling is unusual, right? A, B, C, D, E. That's what makes it weird. But the pronunciation of it, Absidy, that sounds like that's a pretty name, actually. You know what I mean?
Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that name. Is just, I think, is the sound of it. But the spelling it that way, I think, you know, is.
Well, how else would you spell it? A-B-C-I-T-Y?
Yes, Absidy. Yes, Aaron.
It's not a horrible sounding name. It's really not. I mean, it's, you know, there are horrible sounding names, but that's not one of them.
But looking at the way it's spelled, A-B-C-D-E, I wouldn't have known to say Absidy.
No, I imagine you, the teacher, reading that, seeing that on a page and being like,
When I get to names like that at the beginning of the year that are the unusual ones, I will stop and say, okay, kids, I apologize right now. I struggle sometimes with names. I've never seen this one before. I don't know how to pronounce it. It is spelled, and then I'll spell it out, and then the kid will usually, you know, meekly raise their hand. My name is, and then they'll tell you, and then it'll usually take me 3 or 4 times of mangling it before I actually say it close to the way they want it.
Yes. Well, and people, you know, it was interesting because there've been lots of discussions. We talked about this last week too. There's been lots of discussions about, you know, people giving their kids unique names or unique spellings. You know, you know, there's a bazillion Britneys, but people will inexplicably throw a Q in there.
Yes.
You know, and
so did you ever hear about that boy? His dad named him Sue. Now that was a funny one.
Yes. Johnny Cash told that story of a boy named Sue.
I love that song. That's a good song.
So apparently, the Broward County election official Brenda Snipes has unresigned.
Yeah, you know, I was trying to find other articles on this because it just struck me as so odd or unusual that she would do that. But apparently it's true, and she's first off allowed to rescind her resignation. And, you know, she seems to feel that she's somehow been wronged by her suspension.
Well,
she
Florida
needs to fight the suspension.
Florida Governor Rick Scott has threatened to cut off her pension. I think that's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
I mean, she was utterly incompetent and may have been, you know, criminally incompetent. I don't know. That's for them to decide. But you let her stay in that job, being as incompetent as she was, and she was abysmal.
Yeah.
So, you know, there should have been a process before losing your pension because the woman's got white hair.
Yes.
It's not like she can go earn that money again somewhere else. I mean, that's a whole world of hurt that I don't think is fair.
Yeah. I you know, I'd read during the election or when they were doing the counting that the governor actually had the authority to fire her a long time ago and didn't. And of course, once you're in the middle of the election, you can't fire her because that appears to be too overtly political. So now that the election's over, you know, she first put in her resignation, and then he said, well, if you're resigning anyway, because she was going to resign, I think, in January, he just went ahead and suspended her until she's formally out, you know, and stated somebody that he wanted to be there. And I think that's completely legit. But this whole idea that you can take back your resignation, that's just I don't get that.
That must be part of their collectively bargained agreement.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, it must be part of it because I assume that she's in a union.
Yeah.
But I again, you know, for somebody to lose their pension, I think that what they did has to be, number one, they have to be convicted of something.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's, especially when the stuff on your head is snow white, meaning the hair.
Yeah.
Because that means that she's going to be indigent in her senior years, and that's a whole different world of hurt. I don't agree with that. Now, you know, if you're convicted of something, then that's a different ball of wax.
Yeah. Well, I doubt that she'd be into it because I suspect that she's going to have several book deals out of this thing. You know?
I get that. I'm just talking about in general, not
I
not specifically about her. I'm sure she'll have a book deal.
Yeah.
You know, so
No, but you're right. I mean, to take someone's pension at the end, I think is really, really wrong. I mean, if they're like, in their mid-career and you say, okay, you're going to give up your pension because what you did was criminal and that's a consequence of your crime, that's one thing. But if you're having them give it up and they're literally going to retire like in, next month, and they paid into it for all those years, I think that's theft. You've stolen their money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's short of embezzlement or major fraud or something that egregious.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because there's that woman that was busted in the Rialto School District who was stealing the lunch money. Remember the story? She was putting it in her bra.
Yes.
Well, she got convicted, but the amount of and now she's out of jail, but the amount that she has to pay back each year is ridiculously small. And of course she still has her pension, and I felt like on that one the financial penalty should have been more.
Oh yeah, I think the district should
punitive.
hold back the pension.
Yeah,
I clearly.
Yeah,
in that kind of case, I mean, she was convicted of embezzlement, and she literally stole money that was feeding children.
I know,
and so my heart does not bleed for her even a little bit.
Yeah.
She made her bed.
Yeah, but the amount that she should have been fined and taken out of her pay going forward, I thought should have been much more severe. And it was only like $100-something, a couple $100. It wasn't.
Yeah, but who's going to hire her, Tobin?
No, I know.
So, yeah.
But she keeps her pension, so she's doing all right. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. She should not have her pension.
Yeah.
So before we go on a break, I have to. Argentine TV. This story is hilarious. Argentine TV welcomes the Indian Prime Minister with a picture of Apu from The Simpsons.
What the? You can't do that, Aaron. That's racist. Even I know that.
A television news. I'm laughing because it's so colossally stupid. A television station in Argentina faced backlash, you think, after it announced the arrival of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the country for the G20 summit with a picture of the Simpsons character Apu. Nahasapima Pedalon. Oh, I pronounced it right.
You did.
Okay, so Apu arrives, Chronica TV reported, captioning the image, which was circulated on Twitter on Thursday by business journalist Pat Gillespie. Dozens of tweeters agreed with Gillespie's assessment that the image was racist. Of course it was.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no excuse. In what universe would that have been okay?
This is a bunch of adults who obviously have been drinking or smoking something, and they thought they were being funny.
It's not okay.
And they're all going to lose their jobs.
They're all. And it's in Argentina. May not all lose their jobs. The thing about The Simpsons.
Yeah.
They make fun of everybody. We've talked about this, but you don't. If Matt Groening were standing in front of you, he wouldn't have made this choice.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to shame a person. You don't want to. That's just racist. It's just racist.
Yeah, it is.
So we can all laugh about what idiots they are. All right. So with that, it's time for a break. I'm Aaron Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Tom Hartman Program. I'm live right here, Monday through Friday.
Are you ready for the #1 progressive talk show host in America?
71% of people say that the information they get from their friends and family, they take more seriously than the stuff they read in the media. Only 42% of Americans think the media is the most credible source of news. And therefore, if you're informed, if you're awake, you need to be telling your friends. You need to be talking to your friends and family.
24-time New York Times bestselling author and has nearly 6.5 million listeners nationwide.
These are crimes. These are international crimes against humanity, and I would love to see somebody held to account in this administration.
Introducing Tom Hartman on KCAA Radio, weekday afternoons starting at 2.
It's time to say see you later, alligator, to embarrassing and troublesome issues with your skin, nails, and hair with all-natural Cayman alligator oil. Cayman oil is locally made, right in Louisiana, where people have been using alligator oil for centuries to treat all kinds of ailments. A drop a day of Cayman oil can help you say see you later, alligator, to athlete's foot, nail fungus, acne, eczema, rashes, dry skin, cuts, infections, MRSA, scars, burns, sunburns, and even ingrown hair and dandruff. If you or someone you know is tired of suffering with any of these skin, nail, and hair troubles, you need to visit mycayman.com to learn more about 100% natural, non-toxic, hypoallergenic Cayman oil and get a bottle today. Say, see you later, alligator, with Cayman alligator oil at mycayman.com. That's myCaimon.com. mycayman.com.
Looking for a new place to eat? Delicious food at a great value? The Tri-City Center in Redlands is proud to announce the grand opening of a fine new dining establishment. Terry's Diner, at the former location of the Spunky Steer in Redlands, is officially open for business daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. with delicious, mouth-watering breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Treat yourself to Terry's tasty dessert menu, such as Terry's famous sundaes, banana splits, hot fudge cake, old-fashioned root beer floats, Frosties, cakes, and pies, too. You'll find weekly lunch and dinner specials, all under $10, including Angus steaks, burgers, Greek salads, pasta seafoods, with wine and beer. Terry's brings years of tasty temptations from DJs in San Bernardino and Alta Loma. Join a new tradition in Redlands. Stop by at 1350 Industrial Park Avenue between Tennessee and Alabama in the Tri-City Center. Google Terry's Diner Redlands on Yelp or find them terrysdinerredlands.com.
KCAA.
Sweetness, I was only joking when I said I'd like to smash every tooth in your head. Oh, sweetness, I was only joking when I said by rights you should be bludgeoned in your bed. And now I know how Joan of Arc felt.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Such a happy music with dark lyrics.
That's your kind of music, Erin.
You know, I just really like that song. So we have to talk about, in this last segment here, we have to talk about what's going on in France. What started with a protest against rising fuel taxes has become the most sustained unrest the country has dealt with since the Paris uprising in May of 1968. And authorities have decided to talk to the protesters instead of declaring a state of emergency. So President Emmanuel Macron instructed Prime Minister Edouard Philippe to hold emergency talks after he returned from the G20 summit Sunday and toured the damage in Paris. More than 130 people were injured and more than 400 arrested during Saturday's unrest, in which cars were burned, stores were looted, and the Arc de Triomphe tagged with graffiti. Macron was booed by the crowd as he toured the damage caused by the anti-government protesters who bore bright yellow vests. French motorists are required to keep in their cars in case of emergency. There were also injuries and arrests in demonstrations in other French cities on Saturday. The government says Philippe will announce, quote, new measures, unquote, this week. He's holding talks with other political leaders on Monday and is expected to meet protest leaders on Tuesday, followed by a debate in the National Assembly on Wednesday. Socialist leader Olivier Faure urged the government to defuse protests by dropping the fuel tax hikes and restoring a recently dropped wealth tax.
Wow. You know, this is so fascinating to me because it feels like France and the United States have swapped positions. The French are the ones that are protesting tax hikes, and here in California we're just kind of rolling over and saying, oh yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating to me. I mean, they're supposed to be this sort of very uber liberal, country
except they're already taxed to their eyeballs.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happens in socialist economies is that it becomes, number one, it's very difficult to fire someone.
Yeah.
All kinds of worker protections, which people go, yeah, that's a good thing, except if you need to, if your company needs to downsize quickly, like it's out of money. In the United States, you can let a person go. In Germany and in France and in many other European countries, it takes quite a long time to let somebody go, meaning they need like 6 months notice.
Yeah.
Which means that before you hire somebody, you have to be really sure. So youth unemployment, it tends to be much higher there than it is here.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of systemic things going on. It's fascinating to me, looking at Macron, who I think on the world stage has got quite a good reputation, right? He's done a lot of things sort of internationally, and people look at him and go, oh, he's a really good leader. But he seems to have lost a lot of the support there at home in France, and I always find that to be sort of an interesting dynamic that you see sometimes with particular leaders. And if he can't get that under control, he's out. I think we're seeing something similar with Netanyahu in Israel, right? He's got a lot of problems going on in Israel right now. And I think,
Yeah, but that's all politically motivated. It really is.
Yeah,
but the quote-unquote corruption charges and all of that, nothing is stuck.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating to me. I think that he's got to have political problems at home, but I think, internationally he's viewed as being a guy who's done some really good stuff, right? He really held the line for Israel.
Well, yes. It depends on which side of that debate you're on, though.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of Netanyahu.
Oh, I am too.
But I know that if you are, in the Linda Sarsour camp, you're not so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what I think is interesting is that, that this particular group is standing up and saying, hold up, we just can't handle any more taxes.
Yeah.
we don't want any more taxes. Of course, they want the other guy to have more taxes, but they don't want themselves to have more taxes.
Yeah. Well, and that's really when government starts to fall apart. When you can vote yourself benefits and penalties for the people you don't like, that's when your government just ain't working.
Well, and one of the things that's happening in California at the same time that they're, we've got a surplus, there are requests or movements to raise taxes all over the place. So there's been a movement to put a sales tax on services. Yeah. So if you go and get your car detailed, or you go to your tax man, or your tax preparer, or whatever, to go see your doctor, to put sales tax on those services. There's also a movement to have a 2-tiered property tax system that is it's really trying to take the teeth out of Prop 13 for industrial and commercial properties.
So you mentioned that. That's actually fascinating, because there was an article in the Sun and the Press Enterprise yesterday about James Ramos, our new assemblyman, talking about how he's going to get a lot of pressure from the party to support that sort of change to Prop 13, and that he has basically said, no, I wouldn't support that. He's a fairly fiscally conservative Democrat, and other people have said to him or said about him that they're going to do to him what they did to Cheryl Brown. She wouldn't support the gas taxes, and so she faced a revolt from the left in her own party, and they pushed her out so they could get their taxes.
And they did. They got their taxes.
And so moderate Democrats are really being targeted. So, congratulations, James Ramos, you just won an assembly seat. Now hold on to your hat, because they may be coming for you next.
Yeah. Well, and he's rightfully saying, look, it's already difficult to attract business here. What are you thinking? And you hear the people talk about this argument, and the people who are for the increase in taxes, they look at Disneyland. Look at how much money Disneyland brings in, and we don't get any taxes. First of all, that's hogwash. Yes, right. You do. They just don't. There's a cap on how much those property taxes can increase each year. Yeah. So they're not paying 1964 levels of property taxes. They're paying. There's like I said, there's a limit to how much they can go up each year.
Yeah, exactly. And to James Ramos's credit, I'm a big fan of James Ramos. He basically said his idea is he's going to go in there and focus on the local issues. He's not there to be this big political party player. He's there to do what's right for our area, and that's what he's going to do. And as long as he keeps coming back here and selling to people, that's what he's done. That his votes are about what's best for our area. I think he's on solid ground. But the challenge is that in our very partisan era, and very sort of extreme era on both sides, it's hard to be that guy in the middle who says, "Hey, this is the right thing to do."
Well, and there's no both sides in this state.
No, I know.
There's no both sides.
Yeah.
The Republican Party is virtually invisible in this state. So it's either you're a leftist or a far leftist.
Yeah, it's true.
Unfortunately. unfortunately. So I am not a proponent. I like the fact that Disneyland is in Southern California. We don't want to create an environment where taxes are so high that it's less expensive for them to move, especially since they're out of space. That's one big thing. They're out of space in Anaheim. So, if they want to expand Disneyland, they're going to have to take it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Well, let's not give them a reason to hurry up that process.
Exactly.
And people say, oh, they'll never move. Why not? They certainly could. They can do whatever they want. It's a private company.
Exactly.
And then what do we have? Right? We shouldn't. I'm tired of hearing the argument, oh, well, they're just this kind of company, or they're just that kind of, oh, they only had so many jobs, or, as you just dismissing all of the jobs that have left, all the companies that have left California like it's no big deal. It is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, and Disney is a billion-dollar magnet, right? I mean, there are so many people who come to the United States, come to Southern California just because of they want to go to Disneyland.
Yes.
Right? And all the other businesses that benefit from that, the hotels, the restaurants, the stores, the shops that sell all the Disney stuff, right? There's just so much secondary effects.
And the convention center. And everything that goes into that convention center, because, you want to put a convention in where people want to be.
Exactly. So as soon as they get done with their conventioneering at the end of the day, they run across the street to Disneyland and spend some money. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
So and again, most of these increases are to cover pensions. It's to cover the unfunded mandates. It's to manage our debt, right?
Yeah.
Every time the rates go up, the Fed raises interest rates, then our debt becomes more expensive to service on a national level and on a state level. And we passed a bunch more bonds. So, it's like we're not even paying attention.
Yeah. We just keep spending.
It just drives me insane. So we're about at the end of our show for today. Everybody have an absolutely wonderful day. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are On the Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. We'll see you tomorrow.
Wasting away in paradise, going backwards once in a while, taking your time, give it a try. What do you believe? What do you believe? What do you believe is true? And nothing they say makes a difference this way. Nothing they say will do. You take all the trouble.
Looking for a new place to eat? Delicious food at a great value? The Tri-City Center in Redlands is proud to announce the grand opening